calling from Pearl Dental Care to confirm your upcoming general checkup on Saturday 8th at 1 p.m. I just wanted to make sure you're still going to be able to make the time, or if you need to reschedule it.
I actually need to reschedule it.
No problem at all, Luke. Is there another date or time that would be suitable for you?
Is it possible to do 12 p.m. on the Saturday instead?
Just to confirm, you would like to reschedule your appointment to 12 p.m. on Saturday, is that correct?
Yeah.
This will just take a sec. Unfortunately, 12 p.m. on Saturday isn't available. However, I do have openings at 9 a.m, 10 a.m, and 11 a.m. on the same day. Which one works best for you?
Oh yeah, 9 a.m. would work well.
Great choice. Let me just go ahead and book you in for 9 a.m. on Saturday. One moment, please. One moment. Your appointment has been successfully rescheduled to 9 a.m. on Saturday. We look forward to seeing you then, Luke. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
No, that's it. Thanks for calling.
You're welcome, Luke. If you need anything else in the future, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Thanks. See ya. Okay, so that was a quick demonstration of the AI assistant calling me up, checking to see, am I still available for my time? In this case, I wasn't available, so I suggested an alternative time, and it was able to book that in. We saw in the calendar here, if we go back to the Google Calendar here, the demo appointment 5 got updated to 9 a.m. on the Saturday, whereas before it was at 12 p.m. So it moved that calendar event around. And also then in the Google Sheet here, which I didn't have open at the time, because I couldn't show you both screens at the same time, we have here for the 5th appointment, we've got that the time now is the Saturday at 9 a.m. So we can see here, this is sort of the mechanism in which it was able to update the calendar, it was able to update the time, and then update the spreadsheet behind it to make sure everything stays consistent and making sure that we have this continuous flow. So why would you use this sort of system? Look, there's some main key points, some main benefits that I see this system being really helpful. The main one is the proactive engagement. That is, it's calling up the customers ahead of time, making sure that they can still make that appointment. And if they can't, then it's giving them the freedom to actually reschedule there on that call. But by proactively engaging them, making sure that they're actually free, it's allowing us to ensure that those time slots are filled. Beyond that, then we also have that it's getting that consistent and error-free reschedule. So there are chances when humans are involved that errors are made. By having an AI assistant driving that process and it all being driven through code, the amount of errors that can occur is almost none. Along with that, we no longer need the need for staff to actually be involved and having to call up and having to take their time away. It can keep their time moving forward in areas that actually matter to them. And finally, it's a cost-effective, scalable system. So as more is required to call up and keep moving these customers through, rather than having to employ more people, we're able to just utilize the AI assistant tool to make those calls for you. So let's talk about the flow that this actually works through, just so you can get a better understanding of how exactly it's working. Now, this is the entire flow, but we're going to go through it in sections because there are a few pieces to it. So firstly, there's a daily trigger that occurs. That is, every day, once a day, it's going to the Google Sheet and it's looking for any unconfirmed bookings. So in this case, we're doing 2 days, within 2 days the appointment is, and that it's unconfirmed. It's going to then go through and call each of those bookings, and if the user doesn't answer, well then it's going to leave a voicemail saying to call back, just so we can confirm your booking. But if the user does answer, then it's going to go through and it's going to say its intro script, which is the whole, hey, I'm James, I'm calling from here, here's your appointment time, are you happy to confirm that time? Now at that point, the user could either choose to confirm the booking immediately, or they might ask questions to try and understand a little bit more information, or maybe need to know a bit more about their service. And it will continue to answer any questions that the user has until they're ready to confirm. Now, once they're ready to confirm, we're going to go through and either find out, do we need a new time, or are they happy to just confirm their current time? Now, if they're happy to confirm their current time, then great, we're done. We're not leaving a voicemail to call back. We are finished. That's now confirmed. The booking's done. However, if they need a new time, then we're going to ask for a date and time that works for them. And then we're going to go through this process to check if the availability, we're going to go through this process to check if the time is available. So if the time is available, then great, we're going to go through and trigger the reschedule process. But if it's not, then we're going to go through, find alternative times for them, suggest those alternative times, and if they select one, great, we'll go through the trigger process. If they don't, the customer can provide another time, and we'll go through and check to see if that's available again. Once we get to the reschedule process, then we're pretty much in the clear. We need to update the calendar event so that we've got the new time, and we also need to confirm the booking in Google Sheets to say, hey, this booking's confirmed, here's the new time. And that's it, that's the end of the flow then. Okay, so getting into things, what we need to look at first is the knowledge base, the data behind the actual AI assistant. Now, whilst we're just calling up, asking them to confirm their appointment, whilst they are just doing that really, they may have questions about the clinic. They might be asking like, what time you open, where you're located. When it's rescheduling, maybe they need to know the service that they're doing and sort of a bit more about the service. And that's sort of where the knowledge base behind this fits in. So firstly, here we have the introduction to the clinic. Within this, we have sort of like an intro section. This is almost like a mini about us section, just to give some overall context to the AI assistant. In here also, we've got the company's mission and values and vision statement, and that's again just to drive the core context for the AI assistant behind this business. So moving on from that, we then have some core business information, so the actual like company name, the tagline, the phone number, that sort of stuff. Business hours as well, so that the AI assistant has context around the hours that someone can actually book in for. Then we have the specific services. So for each service here, we have the heading, the name of the service, and then a little description about the service itself. Again, this is in case someone's booked in and they just need to know a little bit more about what they're getting done or what it involves. You could expand this information out a lot further, give a lot more detail around it. But for this case, we're just going to give the small little description. Along with that, we have the team members. Again, this is all just contextual information so that the AI assistant has it in case someone asks a specific question about a team member or a service. And then finally, we have the FAQs. And again, giving more context around just answering common questions that someone might have. But all this information together combined give the AI assistant a general knowledge around the business and gives a good amount of information to be able to answer the majority of questions that someone might have. Okay, so now we're going to move into Vapi. Now, Vapi is the tool that allows us to create the AI assistant itself. In Vapi, we're specifying things like what phone numbers we're going to have, the tools and functions it needs to be able to call, along with giving the overall role that it's going to be using. Now, here we have the model and the actual system prompt. So the system prompt itself is giving the core instruction of what this is going to do when calling up a user. So all the information that we have here is actually just an example, because what we actually are going to need to do is put all this information in when we run the daily checker, but I'll get to that in a little bit. For now, let's continue on in Vapi just so I can give you an understanding of what it's going to do. So firstly, when someone answers the phone, it's going to say this message. It's going to say, hi, person's name, I'm James calling from Pearl Dental Care to confirm your upcoming routine check or whatever service they have booked in for the day, the date, the time, and just making sure you're still available. So that's the first line that someone's going to get when the AI assistant has called them up. When we then look at the system prompt, this is where we're giving the instruction of how to handle the conversation itself. So we need to give it the role so it understands the context of who you are and what you're trying to achieve. and then we're giving the specific task. So in this case, the task is to confirm the booked time or find a new time. So here, if we just go line by line here, it's saying your goal is to book the time in. If they're able to make the booking, then run this specific function. And look, we'll get to the functions in a little bit. And with this function, we need to send through this value. Now, this sort of stuff, it's not going to make sense until you have context of what all this means. But basically, what this is saying is we need to send this specific value in with this function call. If the person isn't able to confirm the booking, or they need another time and they need to reschedule, here's what you need to do. Firstly, you need to ask for an alternative time. You then need to run the check availability function to check if that time's available. If the time's outside of the operating hours, remind them, hey, this is the clinic's hours. But if it is in that time, then let's see if the time is available. If the time's not available, then suggest alternative time slots based on the webhook response. And if the customer requests a different time, run the check availability function again. Once an available time slot's confirmed, that's when we're then going to run the book service function. And that's where we need to send through the new selected time and this row number again. Now the row number, it relates to their entry in the Google Sheet basically. Once the service is rescheduled, let them know that it's changed, and your ability to follow these steps and set the service appointment successfully is critical to the success of this. That is the overarching flow. If you think back to the flow that we just looked at before, we saw basically this in the same sort of format, but just drawn out in boxes. Beyond that, then we have some specifics in this case. So we need to make sure that we pass the time provided to the customer to the function, never converting it. Look, there are a few specifics here that are just really based around sending things across, making sure that the conversation keeps on flowing. You'll need to take a look when you're running your own tests to make sure, firstly, you might not even need these. You might be fine without them, but there could be more as well. And it's worth just experimenting with adding in a few different things here and there. Along with that, always recommend setting through an example. You can have lots of different examples in here. So one could be an example where they just want to confirm the time. Another could be where they need to reschedule. Another could be where they reschedule, the time's not available, find an alternative time. You could play out so many different combinations. What I recommend is getting the core case and having that flow through successfully. And that's generally going to give a good sense to the AI assistant on how to flow through this conversation. So in this case, they're basically, it's calling, it's doing the, do you want to make sure this time's okay? And we're saying, no, I need a different one. Let's go with this time, and rescheduling it. So that's giving like a general sense to the AI assistant that, hey, this is what's going to happen. And then finally, I've got a few different notes on just specifically on how the AI assistant should return responses and how it should handle different pieces, different responses basically. Again, like the specifics, it's one where you just need to play with and find what works for you. But that's the overarching sort of system prompt that this AI system is using to then control the conversation. Okay, and so now as part of the AI assistant setup, there are a few extra things that we need to make sure we do. Firstly, we're going to have the 3 functions that it needs to be able to call. That is book service, check availability, and confirm booking. So basically the check availability and the book service go hand in hand, because that's basically checking the availability for the times, and then it will book it in off that. And the confirm booking is just when someone has said, yeah, that time still works, that's fine. So we need to make sure that the tools are selected in the function area itself. And then let's jump across to what they are in the tools section here. So within tools, we have the check availability, book service, and confirm booking. Firstly, check availability. As we said, it is searching to see if that time is available in the calendar. So we need to have that description there, and we also need to send through the time, because we need to make sure, hey, is that time actually going to be available in the calendar? Once that time's been selected, we then need to run the PDC book service. And as I said before, this tool is used to reschedule and book in the new time for a service. So the pieces that we need to send through is the time, and that's the time that's been confirmed after suggesting new times or agreeing on a new time. And then we also need to send through the row number, which again, this relates to the Google Sheet, and we'll get to that in a time. Lastly, the other tool is the confirm booking tool. So the confirm booking tool basically is just saying, hey, this person's still happy to do this time. Let's now send through and say it's confirmed. And this tool, all it's sending through is the row number, which we'll get through in a moment. But that's it for the Vapi tool side of things. Now, the only last part remaining to Vapi itself is the phone number. Now, within Vapi, there are a few different options for phone numbers. You can use Vapi's own phone numbers, you can use Twilio, and you can also use Vonage. And in my case here, I've utilized Twilio. It's quite a simple process. You do need a paid account. You can start with a free one, but with the free one, when you get the call from the inbound piece, it's got like a little default message saying, hey, you're on a free trial, click any button on the keypad to continue. And works fine for actually just testing, but if you want to use it in practical sense, you need to have a paid account. But basically, all you need to do is you just need to use this import Twilio piece here where you're putting in the phone number, and then you just got to grab your account's SID and also the generate an auth token, and you just put those all in, click import, it brings it in to Vapi, and in Vapi itself you could select the assistant here and connect it up that sort of way. The way we're going to do it here is just a little bit different, so no connections required to be set up there, but that's about it for Vapi. We're going to move across now and head elsewhere. Okay, so we're going to move into the automation chains that are actually running those tools, but before we do, I thought I'd better give you just the quick breakdown of what's actually happening in the Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet are all the appointments that have been booked in. In this case, I've manually entered all this information. The ideal case is that another AI assistant has already booked these in for the company. But what we have here is name, phone number, the service that the customer, is looking to get. We have date and time here. A calendar event ID, which relates to the actual event ID in Google Calendars itself. How many days until the event occurs? Has there been contact made? And is the booking confirmed? So this would start off as no, and this would also start off as no. We have the row ID here, and then the full date. Just to explain a few things in here, the full date is the date that's stored from the AI assistant itself. So the AI assistant, we get it in that format. And then with the date and the time here, we're just using a function in Google Sheets to trim and find content from the left side of the space, and then also from the right side of the space. And that's just simply so we can split them out and be used in two different senses in the automation chains. And also the days till function is also then doing a calculation in Google Sheets, which is basically taking the date of the appointment and minusing off today's date to find out how long there is till the appointment. And we'll get to that in a second, why we're doing that. And finally, the row ID is literally just what row is this. So we're using the equals row calculation here. Let's jump across into make and start with the make call function. So this is currently set up to run daily. You can set this up to run whenever you want, but daily is what I believe is probably a good use case here. What it's firstly doing is it's finding any unconfirmed bookings. This is the spreadsheet's specific settings to find rows that we need. So we've got to specify like the spreadsheet itself in Google Drive, the sheet that it's using, are the headers, which in this case there are. You can also have a column range of huge amount of columns. We don't need that many here. And then you can filter down to pull out specific rows. So here we have that the days till is less than or equal to, if we scroll down, less than or equal to 2 days beforehand. So you could change this so a week out it starts reminding and making those calls. I've just done 2 here for this use case. Within this also it needs to have not made contact and that the booking isn't confirmed. It's that all running then together is going to pull out all the rows that are associated to this call, and it's going to convert that into a list of items. So basically what happens is it pulls out all that information in all that table from Google Sheets itself, but it's in this really sort of messy, it's not really super usable at that point. What this convert to list does, it basically takes that results and puts it into an ordered list so that it can use it then. And what we're then doing with that list is we're going through each item inside that list and running an operation. So that's what basically we're converting to a list, then we're going for each item in that list, do these things. So with each item in that list then, what it's going to do is firstly, it's going to generate a user-friendly time. Now what that means is instead of in our spreadsheet where it says the date in year, month, day format and the time in hours, minutes, seconds, it's going to turn it into something nice like Wednesday the 15th at 2:30 p.m. as we can see here. So we're sending through, here's your system prompt, and then we're going to send through, here's the date, here's the time, give us the new version. With that new version then, what we're doing is we're making an API call to Vapi. There's a reason why we're doing this. So within Make here, there is actually the option to make an outbound call with Vapi. It does work really well, but it just loses out on a few pieces of technology that we need in this case. So firstly, we need to send this API call to /call, because that's the endpoint to make an outbound call. We're using the post method. We need to specify the content type, application JSON, and then we need to send through this large body string. Now these all match up to different pieces within the system. So firstly, we're using our assistant. So what we need to do is we need to get the assistant ID. So to get the assistant ID back in Vapi here, if we go to our assistant, this string here up the top, that's our assistant ID. So we simply copy and paste that in. Along with that, in our case, because we're making an outbound call, we also need the phone number ID. So again, back in Vapi, where we've set up our phone number here, we have a phone number ID. With those two then provided, there are a few pieces of information that we can provide to help move this, make this more personalized. So firstly, we can provide the customer's number and the customer's name, which is information that we're going to load from the Google Sheet. So we had the first name, we had the phone number. That all together could actually make the call to the customer if you wanted to use, say, the system prompt and the first message that it's given. But in our case, unfortunately, we can't do that because our first message here is personalized to the user, saying like, "Hi Luke," and it's also personalized with, you have a routine checkup, whereas it could be a different service, and also personalized to that, the date. So that's where this becomes just slightly more complex than just a simple use case. So in this body section here, we need to include an assistant override. Within the assistant override, basically what we're doing here is we're taking all the content that we had in this system prompt and also all the content in the first message here and putting it in to the body text here. And the only reasons we're doing that is so that we can personalize the content. So in this case here, the personalization comes in that we need to send through the row number, that we send through the calendar event ID, and also the row number again. All the example content, all the specifics, all the notes, all that content stays the same. And then when it comes to the first message, we also need to personalize that here by providing the first name, the service that they're doing, and the resulting time, the user-friendly time that OpenAI just gave us. Along with that first message, for cases where a user doesn't answer the phone, we can also specify the voicemail message, and we can provide effectively the same as the first message again, so that it sends through that same personalization in that voicemail message. Now, this is definitely more complex than what it needs to be for a usual use case. But in this case where we want to have this personalization in the call, this works really well. So to make the outbound call, we need all this information in this API call. There is more that you can include, in fact, but this is really the baseline of what you want to have in order to get that call going. And this all together will make the call to the end user and start that conversation. Okay, so with that call made, let's now talk about when the user just wants to confirm the booking. So to confirm the booking, it's quite simple, much simpler than what we're going to get into in a moment. Firstly, we have a webhook that's set up. This is a call that Vapi knows the URL to call to and send data through to. When it sends data through here, it then will run this function, which is just to update the customer's booking in Google Sheets. So what we're doing here is we're running the update a row function in make. We need to specify like the spreadsheet, the sheet name, the row number, which we're getting sent through in the call. And then we can just specify that, yes, contact's been made. Yes, the booking is now confirmed. And that's sort of it for this function. The only thing left to do is to respond back and say, great, thanks for confirming the time. That's all it is for the confirm booking process. It is definitely by far the simplest of the lot. So let's now get into a bit more complex of an area. This is the check availability function. And what this is doing is, again, we have this webhook, which is a URL that Vapi is able to call to make to start off this function. And the first thing it's doing is determining the timestamp that we can use in Google Calendars. Now, what this means is I might have said tomorrow at 7 a.m. or mid-afternoon today, and we need to be able to turn that into an actual date time. So in here, the date time basically is this, where we need the the year, month, day, hour, minute, second, which is the same date that we saw in Google Sheets. What we're doing here is we're sending through the current time right now, and then sending through, hey, this is what the user said to us. And OpenAI is then going to interpret that and turn that into a usable date. So with that usable date confirmed and obtained, we're now able to check and see in Google Calendars, is that time actually free? Now to do that, we need to specify the Google Calendar that we need to check against, which we have set down here. We need to set the start time. So that is the time that we've generated from OpenAI. And then we need the maximum time. So in this case, we're adding 60 minutes because all the appointments are set at 60 minutes. And that's it. With that then specified in there, it's going to go and look at that time slot and see in Google Calendars, oh, is that time actually free? So if the time is a free, great. That time's available. We're going to respond back to the AI assistant saying, okay, that time is available. And then they can either choose to confirm or check another time if they really needed to. But if that failed, say that that time is not available, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through and obtain all the times that are taken up in a 24-hour span, starting at the time that you specified. So again, we need the minimum time at the start, and then we're going to add 24 hours onto that. What that's going to do is send back a list of, here's a big list of different items in your Google Calendar. We're going to convert that into a usable format by just sending it through into a JSON format. And then we're going to send that to OpenAI to actually turn that into a what times can I get out of this. So to do that, what we're doing in this call here is actually saying, hey, OpenAI, these are all the times that are not available. These are all the times that have already been booked. This is the time that the user said that they want. Here's the current time. Don't start earlier than this, and only suggest times in between these hours. Find 3 times in that are available for the user to book into. And once it's figured out those times that it can book in for the user, it will generate a response using that in just a nicer format. So it might generate, say, like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m. And if the response to me saying 1 second, I'll go see if that time's available, and if I said back 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m., I'd be very confused. So what we need to do is we need to send the response from that result and just say, hey, these are the times that we're able to book in that we want to throw as alternatives. Can you just make a nicer, friendlier sort of response? So like this example output here. Unfortunately, your chosen time slot was booked out. However, we can book you into one of these 3 alternative times and list out the times. So with that, we're then going to send that result back to the AI assistant to say to the user to hopefully either select the time or find a different time. Okay, so the users found an alternative time now based on whatever was responded back, or they threw another time and that was free. What we actually need to do is now actually book in the time itself. So firstly, we've got the Vapi connection again. This is the webhook once again. And what we need to do is we need to find the row that it relates to so that we can update certain information. So firstly, we need to find the row. So we're doing that by firstly specifying that spreadsheet again, the sheets, table, name, headers, column range, and then we're filtering down to just the row ID where it equals exactly to the row number that we're sending through in that API call from Google Sheets. And so that's going to return back just one result because there's only ever one row for one row ID. And we're going to do a few things. Firstly, we're going to determine the timestamp. So that is, the user might have said, oh yeah, tomorrow 10 a.m, that's great, I'll go with that. We now need to turn that back into the date time format of the years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds, like this format, because that's what we need in our Google spreadsheet, and it's also what we need for Google calendars. So with that timestamp figured out, we can now update the old event. Now we do that by firstly specifying the calendar again that we're using, but we're pulling in the event ID. And the event ID we obtained by running this get current entry process. With the current entry process there, we can change the start date based on the timestamp that we just generated from OpenAI, set the duration for 1 hour, and that's sort of all you need to do here. So that's going to update the Google Calendar event from whatever the other time was to the new date time. So once you've updated that calendar event, then we actually need to update the Google Sheet itself. So in here, we've got to update a row where we need to, again, specify the spreadsheet, get the sheet name, specify the row number, which we just got before. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to update column K, which if we go back into the spreadsheet, column K is the full date. And we're going to send through, hey, here's the new date time that we have from the OpenAI response. We're also going to specify that, hey, the booking's now confirmed and that we've made contact. And now that all that information is updated, the calendar's updated, the spreadsheet's updated, we can finally send back to the AI assistant saying, great, that's now rescheduled. And so then the AI assistant can take back over the conversation and chat away or wrap up the conversation there. And that's really everything wrapped up now. We've gone through all the different pieces to it. There is a lot that's going on. Hooking up between like Google Sheets, Twilio, Vapi, Make. There is, a lot going on. But it absolutely can work and works really well if you have it in place for just automating the whole process. I think outbound calling for AI assistants, there's definitely some huge possibilities in there. And this is the sort of thing that I do for businesses at my company, AIWise, day in, day out. We are creating AI assistants. We're using AI in a number of different facets, but this is definitely one of the biggest areas that we're touching at the moment. If you haven't already looked at AI assistants for yourself, definitely recommend taking a look. Start with Vapi, start with Make, and start simple. Honestly, a simple beginning is definitely recommended. It can get complex very quickly, and there's a bit of a learning curve. So please make sure to start simple. If you ever need help, look, reach out. I'm more than happy to chat. But good luck for your build, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.